Hello, and thank you for joining us for episode 1 of Code Girls on Air, a podcast that explores all things technology, leadership, careers, education, and topics within the nonprofit sector. I'm your host, Emma Anderson. In this episode of Code Girls on Air, we interviewed Gaby Marin, a software engineer at Apex Fintech Solutions. Join us to hear more about her story. All right, Miss Gaby, thank you so much for being on Code Girls on Air. It's a pleasure to have you. Can you start by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, I'm Gaby Marin. I am a mid-level software engineer at Apex. I have about 5 years of experience, and I have 2 puppies and a husband, and I live in Austin. And yeah, it's so awesome being here, and thank you so much for this opportunity.
Of course. What first sparked your interest in software engineering?
So actually, funnily enough, I did not code before I got to college, at all. I wasn't into it. My dad was a chief information officer, was into tech. I was typical rebellious teen, was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go do economics. And I hated economics. And so I came back to Houston and I took a computer science class. And that really sparked my interest. Particularly, it was led by a female professor, and she really encouraged me to continue. And it just went on from there.
Very cool. So you work for Apex Fintech Solutions. So what does a typical day in your life look like?
Yeah. So the nice thing about this job is it's very flexible, and I'm hybrid. So if it's a day that I'm working from home, I wake up at 8:50 when work starts at 9 and then roll into the computer. But if I have to drive into the office, I wake up early. I might go to the run club by my office, go to the office after, check my emails, check my Slack, because actually the back-end team I work with, they're in Belfast. So sometimes it's a 24-hour response, and I want to make sure that, I can talk to them while they're on there. And then I kind of dive into the work. Most of the time I can just get away with just coding all day. Sometimes somebody asks me a question, or maybe something's wrong and we need to fix it, and I have to jump on that. But overall, it's usually a pretty peaceful, calm, boring day. So yeah. Very
cool. Do you like working from home more than you like going into the office, just for the flexibility?
Actually, so that's a great question, because I was remote the first 3 years of my career, entirely, and it was a little too lonely for me. I'm a little too social in the sense of I need to talk to people, otherwise I go crazy. And I like hybrid. I don't think I could do on-site all the time, because I do, get tired and it's a lot to schedule. And when you have a life and, the dentist is only open 9 to 5 on Monday to Friday and you work 9 to 5 Monday to Friday, it's frustrating. So I think hybrid is my perfect, I get the socialness, but I also get my downtime to have, scheduling life appointments, and it's just a good mix.
Very cool. Yeah, it's definitely the best of both worlds in that way.
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing about your job?
The people's a really cheesy answer, but I think I do my best work when I'm in an encouraging environment and a very exploratory environment. And this is the type of job where it's very comfortable to say, I don't know what I'm doing here and I need help. And 5 people will message you and be oh, I, was stuck on this once. I'll help you. And I feel I've grown so much faster that way. And so I am ride or die for my team because of that.
Awesome. Yeah. I think that teamwork is definitely a big thing in any career, but also especially in tech, just because of that community that's kind of built in a workplace like that. Yeah. In your opinion, what's the key personality trait that someone would need to be successful in your field?
I think being curious and being a hard worker goes really far, more so than any other skill. I think there's a stereotype of you have to be some super genius, and I don't think that's true. I think the people that have survived the longest are very curious. If I ask anybody a problem or someone asks me a problem, I almost have to stop them and say no, please stop helping me. I was just asking the question. Everyone really wants to dive deep, and that's kind of a lot of computer science problems is you have to dive deep, you have to figure out what's going wrong. And that kind of combines with hard work, because there are a lot of quick wins, but there are also a lot of like, I've been staring at this code for 5 days and I need to figure out what's going wrong. And I think those two will just kind of like help you go far, I would say.
For sure, yeah. Yeah, I think that just kind of staying open to different options, and also just wrestling with questions that, yeah, they can't be easily solved sometimes. And sometimes, even if someone else knows the answer, you want to figure it out yourself, so that way for next time. Can you share a moment in your career where your love of curiosity really paid off?
Yeah, I think it pays off in how many different opportunities I've had. And I think one of my biggest successes was I had interviewed for an internship. This was a company called Aon/Strauss Freebird. They have a million names. And it was cybersecurity, and I didn't have any cybersecurity experience, never taken a class in it. But I got curious about it and just decided to apply, and then got really interested in the field. And so I had done research into what they were doing, and I there's like NIST framework is one of the things they called, or that they use often, and went in there and was kind of able to like guess at the answers, and like hack my way into it. And I ended up getting the internship, and led to this huge success of being able to move to DC and explore.
That is so cool. Recently I've been kind of looking into some cybersecurity things to make a curriculum here for Code Girls for a little camp that we're doing. So I've recently just kind of been introduced to that whole world. It's insane. Very cool.
I think you would love it, especially there's like, since you mentioned you like the business side, there's an advisory side, and it's a mix of kind of knowing the technical frameworks, but then you get to go to these companies and tell them like you're doing all this completely terrible, but in a business advisor way. And just like one of my favorite ones was, it was a very popular shopping website, and then I got to tell them like, okay, you store your credit cards in plain text. Like, come on,
which is bad.
Yeah, that's not great.
That is, for sure. That is super interesting. Yeah, that is something I would be very interested in. Kind of to change the subject, at 17, you launched a charity to bring healthy food education to schools. Where did that drive come from, and what did you learn through that experience?
Okay, this question made me laugh because actually it was a school assignment. And the assignment was start a charity. That was like the whole prompt. And my school was downtown. It was called Incarnate Word Academy, downtown Houston, which really nice, not so nice parts. And I saw there were a lot of schools around that they had after school programs for reading, but not anything to help address like the food desert that was in that area. And I saw that they also had a lot of pieces to address that problem. Like they had garden beds, but they had no dirt in it, or it wasn't maintained. And I had a homework assignment, I saw a problem, and it kind of just snowballed into this huge program. But I was 17, so I wasn't actually legally allowed to start a charity or 501c3.
Yeah, for sure.
And then luckily my middle school teacher's friend had started this foundation called A New Me, which basically did the same thing, and they adopted the program and it helped it go. And I learned that everyone will try to help you, because we would go to these schools and say hey, we would love to provide this for you, how can you help us, how can we help you? And then we would go to businesses and essentially just ask for money. And they'd be like, oh yeah, I can give you all this. If you have a good mission and you come from a good place, everyone will come help you succeed. And they didn't let it die, because they knew I wanted it to continue, but I was too young. And so they took it under A New Me, and it still is going.
Awesome. That's incredible, especially having that community around you from such a young age. I'm also 17 right now.
Nice.
And I think that, honestly, Code Girls is a great example of a program that really has helped shape a lot of young girls' lives across the state of Montana, which is Super cool. So that entire experience is, even though, yes, it's a school assignment at first, I think that entire process is super cool and super inspirational as well. That if you have that community around you, they will do anything to help you out. So, yeah.
It's definitely like you have the opportunity and you get to take it as far as you want. So I'm really glad, actually. And when I heard about it, I was so jealous that there was nothing in Texas, because it just seems like a really awesome way to give back. And
For sure, yeah. Can you tell us more about your UiPath hackathon experience?
Yes, actually, kind of relates to that internship. I was, I think, like 20, 21. And I had gone to DC. I flew back for that hackathon, but right before, had my wisdom tooth pulled, and it got infected. And I was alone, and I had to go to the emergency room. And going to the emergency room in horrific pain, and then trying to be polite to give like information because they're asking you for like your ID and your insurance, and I'm just like, just help me. I was like, this is insane. I can't. So we went to that UiPath hackathon, and I was like, okay, we need to fix this. And we came up with this idea that it was like a computer vision, and essentially in order to make that process easier, they use computer vision just to like scan your ID and your insurance card, and that way it just like facilitates you so that you can be screaming and crying and not having to be like fake polite, as you're like just like, please let me in. And it was really cool. We didn't get to finish because I am not a person who likes to stay up 24 hours, so I did go to sleep. But we still placed, which was really cool, and it was a really awesome experience, and I wish those were one of the things that I followed up on, because I think that would have really helped people.
For sure, yeah, that is such a cool story and such a great way to kind of use a bad experience and try to improve on it. So yeah, for sure. Tell us more about the DJ's Cyber Day. What inspired this idea, and what impact did you hope to make with it?
DJ's Cyber Day was also born out of me. I think a lot of ideas come out of me being like frustrated or annoyed. And that one was like having to go through my first corporate experience of training. And it was like a 50-page slide. And I was like, this is just the most boring thing ever. And I thought about what I could do to make it more fun, which was essentially like make a video game. And Google has this really cool like drag and drop software to build games. So it was a 8-bit game, and you start as like a girl called DJ. And I mixed it also with my concern with the use of social media at the time, because I had a lot of friends doing stuff and they would just post this like incredibly sensitive information on their Instagram, and I was like, I don't know if I'm paranoid or they're not paranoid enough, but like you should not be posting like your driver's license. And I actually made that into one of the like levels in the game where it's like, DJ gets picked up by her mom and you got your driver's license. Awesome. Like, do you post your driver's license or your permit to Instagram? Or we called it like Insta Pound or something to like avoid copyright. And if you click yes, it's like, whoops, your identity got stolen. And if you click no, like you like continued with the game. It was like a lot of that. So it was like training, but fun, but also like important scenarios that I feel like people were missing that I wanted them to know, but you're not gonna read it if it's presented to you in a boring manner. And so the impact I had was like, I'm pretty sure the company adopted it as part of their like training program, but more so for the like interns. And yeah, just a way to like kind of get them started and learn.
Yeah, that is super cool. Is online literacy something that you really like care passionately about?
Yeah, I think that more so because I'm also not the best at it. And I feel like I make mistakes, and I'll be posting something and I'm like, why did I just say that I live in this city and I go like my run club is a very like why would I mention that? It's got a set schedule, like now anybody can find me, and it's a good reminder. And it's also just when I started, I mean, it's gonna date me. I sound so old, but like when I started using the internet versus like now, it's so different. And I feel like I also miss some things. And then I have younger family members where they're using games like, oh, what's that popular game? Roblox?
Oh my, yes.
Yeah. And the things that
Yes.
they say, I'm just like, why would you tell somebody that? Like, you don't
Yeah,
know.
for
So
sure.
it's something that like not only I need to learn, but I also want to be aware so
Hmm.
that I can be like watching out for my like younger family
For
members.
sure. I think especially the younger generation, myself included, who have grown up in the internet age, it is so easy to overshare.
Yeah.
And it's super easy to not think about like digital footprint, where it's like what you put on the internet is there forever, and you can't really change it. Like, sure, you might delete it, but it's still probably on a server somewhere in the middle of nowhere, Arkansas, or something like that.
Yeah. Or upload
And
it to
it's
YouTube. And
exactly the
we had,
screenshots, you never know.
oh, Snapchat was a big thing because I
Yes.
remember saying to my parents, I'm like, oh, it goes away. And they were like, no, it doesn't. And I was like, it does. Like,
Yes.
you're old, you don't get it. And of course, it
Yeah,
turns out they're completely right. So,
for sure. Yeah, Snapchat is still, I'd say, as popular as ever. And it's definitely like, sure, it like instantly goes away, but also screenshots. And again, it's never truly gone. So, yeah,
yeah.
I think that like online literacy, all of that is becoming even more important, I think, as kids are continuing to grow up in this super digital age. So, yeah, that is such a cool way to really make that interactive as well. So,
Yeah. Thank you.
can you tell us more about like mentoring girls through rewriting the code?
Yeah, so that's our kind of Texas version of Code Girls. It's just a little less involved because they're not in schools, but it really was born out of me really recognizing that I am where I am and I stayed where I am because I received a lot of help, especially women in tech. That there were so many moments like I said, I didn't code before college and I felt like a huge imposter that first computer science class because everyone was like, oh yeah, I coded since I was 12. And I'm like, what's a programming language? And like, what's a for loop? And that professor sat me down and was like, listen, you're good. Like, you're just study a little bit more, you'll be fine. And then as I continued, I then struggled with like different aspects that some women struggle with like feeling a little isolated or like being the only girl in the room. And I wanted to drop out because I was like, I can't handle this. And I had a friend who was like a returning student. So she's like, listen, like I've been through this. It'll be okay. Like, you like this. There's no reason. Like, it won't always be like this, and stay in. And so I figured like I had that experience. So like, why not tell other girls to, yeah, like that's okay. It's normal. It's not you. No, you're not dumb. No, you're not crazy for feeling this way, but it'll be okay. And I just, I'm so grateful to those women and they didn't have to do it. And so I just wanted to be able to, like, if one girl at least stays, then I'd be happy for that. So.
Yeah, very cool. Inspiring that confidence from a young age is obviously like what Code Girls is all about, and I think what any program like this, even if it's not talking specifically about coding, is super important in order just to really enable the next generation.
Yeah.
Speaking of like working through challenges, I hear you're working towards the Boston Marathon and
Yes.
a triple crown in hiking. That is
Yeah.
incredible. I also do some long distance running, but
Oh.
nothing as insane as that.
Wait, what do you do though? What do you do?
Yeah, my favorite I always just run 3 miles on days that typically like 3 to 4 days a week. That's my goal, and then
That's
sometimes
really fun. No, 5Ks are hard.
yeah, and then my goal is to do like a half marathon. That's
Yeah.
the end goal, but it's obviously super hard when you're first starting, but yeah. So what kind of draws you to these kind of endurance challenges?
It kind of started out with trying to like come up with my own definition of what a computer scientist is, because again, like I just heard a lot of stereotypes and I unfortunately believe them, where it's like, oh, it's someone who like stays on the computer all the day, and I would always feel really uncomfortable because I have like a desperate need to go outside and be in nature and like move, and I cannot stare at a screen. Like I love programming, but I also need to like look outside once in a while. And running answered all those problems of like, I joined a run group, so I get to talk to people and like make friends, and I get to run at all these different like fun locations because the World Majors takes you across the world, and I mean it doesn't hurt to like get a nice medal after. And the Triple Crown, of course, just seems hard, so it seems fun if I could do it. And it's just like an enjoyable way to like kind of balance what I like to do and also still be myself. I don't know if that's like a good enough explanation of like.
For sure. Yeah. It's super, it makes a ton of sense, obviously, since computer scientists are, stereotypically always on the computer, not the most physically active. But it's super cool how you balance that. And like Boston Marathon triple, that is insane. I
said work towards, okay? Like I'm nowhere near. Like if it sounds more impressive than it is, but if you saw my pace, you'd be like, okay, well, that's a lot.
I think even completing a marathon is incredible, no matter the pace. So that is.
I'll take it. I'll take
cool.
it. Thank you.
Yeah, long distance running, longer than like 8 miles. I'm like, you are a trooper. You are a trooper.
It helps to talk. That's
For sure, and it's a great way for like the social aspect as well, because again, the stereotype is they're not the most social. They're always in a basement somewhere on their computer. So, last question, kind of to wrap this up: what advice would you give young women who are just starting their journey in tech?
My advice would be that no matter where you are, ask for help. And ask for help not just in a way that's technical, but if you struggle with how you feel, it's okay to mention. I mentioned like 50 times to my boss that I feel like an imposter. And it's okay to be not the mold that you see and to just keep pursuing it, and pursue it if you feel like you want it, and don't let anyone else tell you differently.
Incredible. I love that. I think that that's a great way of just, it's always okay to ask for help, and it's always okay to not know exactly how to do something. That doesn't mean that you're not as smart as everybody else, doesn't mean that you're stupid. It's just means that you have expertise, and I'm sure, plenty of other places, just maybe not in that specific one. So that is incredible. Thank you so much for being on Code Girls on Air. This was a great conversation, and thank you so much, and I hope you have a great rest of your evening. Thank you so much for listening to Season 2, Episode 1 of Code Girls on Air. Next week, we'll be interviewing Janae Hom, a Senior Director of Client Success at Nisos. Join us on August 29th to hear her story. Thank you so much for listening, and have a great rest of your week.